Hey friends, welcome back to Big Nate's Whiskey Lounge. I am, of course, Nate, coming at you with a video from a category I haven't touched yet. I have a couple of whiskeys in this category, and I'll do more of them. I'm trying to mix them in now. This is international. This is actually a Japanese whiskey, and a lot of my international videos don't get a ton of traction because I'm in America, and a lot of the whiskey tube channels are more focused on American, and that seems to be a lot of people's focus, which is fine. So I try to ease in some international whiskeys once in a while because that's what I like and that's what I want to do. Now, this is the most recent Japanese whiskey I've purchased. I have 5 others behind me. Yeah, 5 others behind me. 4 others. 4 others behind me. This is my 5th. And I'll get to them at some point, and maybe I'll do 2 of them. This is from one distillery. I have 2 other Japanese whiskeys from this distillery and then 2 from another one. But this is going to be Nikka from the Barrell. This is a cask strength Japanese whiskey. Now, it does not specify the grains or anything. And now, we also don't know, it does say product of Japan. Now, Japanese whiskey was under some controversy for a very long time. And the reason for that is because they were basically sourcing barrels of scotch and then bottling it and releasing it as Japanese whiskey. Now, in 2021, what changed is there are rules to prevent that now, and that there's more disclosure and things like that. And one of the things is that in order for scotch to be called scotch, it has to leave Scotland in a bottle. So if you source scotch, but in a barrel, in a tote or whatever, it can be called a product of Scotland. It doesn't have to be, but it can be. But it can't be called scotch. It has to leave in a bottle. So, but this is a Japanese whiskey. Not sure if it is a grain whiskey. Not sure if it's malt. Not sure if it's a blend, but it is a cask strength. It is really good. This particular alcohol content comes in at 51.4% ABV. It has a really cool looking bottle. Such a simple bottle. It's got a screw top on it. Such a simplistic bottle that it's just really cool. Now, Japanese whiskey tends to hit my area in phases. So it hits, gone for a long time, hits, gone for a long time. There are certain Japanese whiskeys you can pretty much find all the time. Some of them I have behind me. I have the Suntory Toki, always available. A very, very entry-level, kind of a boring Japanese whiskey. But they also Suntory does Hibiki Harmony, which is very good, very cool-looking bottle. I would say that Hibiki Harmony is to Japanese what Blanton's is to bourbon, kind of as far as bottle shape. It doesn't look the same, but the coolness of the bottle, in my opinion. And then... but you've got there's another brand called Nikka, which is this. So the Suntory does the Hibiki Harmony, the Toki, a couple of others, and then Nikka does from the barrel. Then they have a coffee grain and a coffee malt. Now, coffee for that is spelled Coffey. It is actually referring to the type of still used, not referring to anything that's actual coffee. And there's a coffee grain, so it's going to be a grain whiskey, and then there's coffee malt, which is just a single malt. The coffee grain is available almost all the time. Last weekend, I was in a couple of stores, and that's when the Japanese dropped. So Nikka dropped from the barrel, and we also got the malt. I overpaid a little bit on the coffee malt because I saw it at the first place I got it, and unfortunately it was one of the more expensive places in the area. Me and a buddy of mine have gone back and forth through texting over the last couple of weeks, and we have found it for quite a bit cheaper. We also saw this at the exact same store. A lot of stores have this for $100. I found this for $70, for $69.99. One of my very local places who I am trying to build a relationship with, they dropped it on their Facebook page that they had this in the coffee malt and a couple of others. I had already bought the coffee malt somewhere else, so I wasn't looking for that. But I called them and I said, hey, how many do you have and what are you looking for? They said, we have 2 and they're $69.99 each. I texted 2 of my buddies and asked separately. I texted one buddy and said, hey, do you want me to grab the other bottle for you? He said, no, I'll pass. I just got it. My girlfriend just bought it for me. The other guy said, no, I'm looking for something else. I'll pass on it this time. So I bought one bottle, and so that's what this is. Now, this was poured the day I bought it. So I'm shooting this video on a Sunday, and I bought it and we poured it the day yesterday on Saturday. And then today I was out doing a little bit more hunting, and the first buddy that passed on a text me, he's like, "Hey, I know I got it, but maybe I should have, in order to have a backup bottle," because he goes through it pretty quickly. He shares a lot of his stuff, and his girlfriend likes whiskey, so they drink it together. And he's like, "Man, maybe I should have taken you up on that." So next weekend I'll probably see if they have it available still, and if so, maybe snag it for him. This is very sweet. There's a sweet funk to it. So my guess is that there's at least dominance of malt, or at least some malt in it. Now, I just came off back-to-back 2 cask strength ryes. So my nose is not getting overwhelmed by the 51% because I just came off of a 55 and a 66%er. So I'm not being overwhelmed by the nose on this. But there's definitely a sweetness, a little bit of honey, kind of honeycomb. So, and like the texture of the honeycomb and how the honeycomb is not sweet, but the honey itself is sweet. Yeah, the funk from the rye, which I typically get. Sweet honey funk. Okay, my opinion, this is definitely at least malt dominant, or if not single malt. Maybe not. Well, single malt means 2 things. Again, single means 1 distillery. So just a malt, which would be all malted barley. I feel it's a malt. There's a grain, but there's like, there could be some grain in it too. Because it's almost like eating like a piece of wheat. I don't know what grains would be in it, but like chewing on a piece of wheat, just the texture of it I'm getting. Because barley, when cooked, is very soft. If you have it in like a barley-based soup, it tends to be very soft. This was more of a grain. This is good. It's very good. Second time I've had it. I did not try this yesterday when I opened it. A couple of my buddies, the one I mentioned, and then the cigar lounge employee had a little bit of it. I was drinking a couple of other things. But I had a bottle. I had that one friend, he brought in a bottle a little bit ago, and that's what I tried. If you're interested in expanding your palate and you think Japanese whiskey might be a good way to do it, I recommend it. This is really good. It's really nice to have a cask strength Japanese. I just think that's a really cool bottle. It's so simple and so boring that it's awesome. So this again, Nikka from the Barrell. This is 51.4% ABV. And it's a Japanese whiskey. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for watching this video. Like, comment, and subscribe. Please comment if you like Japanese whiskey, what Japanese whiskeys you've had, what Japanese whiskeys you're not a big fan of, because I mentioned 5 of them in my video now, although I was doing and reviewing this one. Comment, subscribe, get this like so other people will get it recommended to them. Appreciate your support. Love you guys. Cheers.